Hi guys, this is Elliot Forbes and this is episode number 14 of the Elliot Answers Show. Hi guys, thanks for watching the video today. My name is Elliot Forbes, a male grooming specialist based in London. This channel is dedicated to hair, beard and grooming tips for the modern man. So if that's something you're interested in, you might want to consider subscribing. So getting into today's question. Got sick of having short hair, so decided to grow it out, but it's getting a bit messy and hard to style. Any advice on how to clean it up, style it differently? Right, so we can see actually, yeah, this is grown out into quite a heavy shape. There's quite a bit of length in through there now, and actually I'd say actually this is great to be able to play with. I'd love to be able to cut this actually, because I think you'd be able to put it into a really nice shape. So if we're looking at the second photo here, the top right, we can see actually when we look at the silhouette, it comes back almost in a straight line and then straight down at the back. So it almost looks very boxy in through there, which is not always a bad thing. A boxy look works really quite nicely, but I think this is accentuated a bit too much in through there. So I think we would, by looking at that, what you want to do there is sort of almost have it so it sits in a little tighter at the neck. So as opposed to it going bang, bang, you could have it almost so that it sits with a bit more of a tighter into the neck, so a bit more of a V shape in through there. So really what we would be doing in through there is actually taking the back shorter. You'd be using this area as your guide and then taking that shorter in through here. So actually then you still had enough to be able to play around with. I wouldn't go crazy short in through the back. I'd still leave it so it sit really broken up. So you'd only be cutting the internal shape. So anything that's then cut from the inside, you would then affect the outside shape. You wouldn't then you wouldn't be taking the outside shape any shorter or sharpening that up. You want to keep it all very nice and soft around the edges, very nice and broken up, and I think that would work really quite nicely in through that back area. When you're finding it hard to style, part of the reason what you'll find that will be is because you've just let it grow from growing it out from short. What you'll find is you try to push the sides back, and then what you'll do is it clumps then up at the back because you've got all this growing out. It's all growing at the same length. So this is super heavy in through there. And what you'll find is actually there's nowhere really for the sides to be able to go. So you're pushing them back, but actually it keeps coming forward and then working its way out because it's got nowhere for it to sit. As soon as you take this area at the back a good bit shorter, and then in the correct shape, these sides actually have somewhere to be able to go. You're basically creating space and somewhere for it to be able to sit. So actually these can sit back a lot easier then, because actually it can then tuck around the ear and it'll work really nicely because actually there's nothing blocking it and there's nothing to excess. So actually by taking just a little bit of weight out through the sides and then taking that shorter, you'll feel as though actually you've still got all of that length, but actually anything that's excess will be gone, which will then make your life easier to style that. The next thing then you would have to check upon is whether actually the sides and the back and the crown area, whether that matched or whether one was longer than the other. I've got a feeling that also the crown area, that might be a little bit longer than the sides. So I would probably lean towards making sure that they were balanced, or maybe even a little bit shorter in through that crown, so that could sit a little bit bouncier in through there and not sit so heavy. I would then be taking this and working through each section and actually then texturizing it so it can sit a little bit more broken up. There's quite a bit of texture in through there, but it also looks a little bit heavy. I would be making sure that then it's sat with a nice amount of texture, really broken up, so that it actually had that freedom to be able to move around in different directions. I would say that with this, short hair pushes longer hair. So actually if you have the texturized and those hairs can then push the longer hairs in different directions, that's how you get the texture coming through, which is why then you see people cutting into the hair to be able to then break up. So it pushes it in all different ways. I personally would bring these sideburns up just a little bit higher and then just gently taper them out. I think they're just a little bit too low through there. So I bring that up a little bit, but still keep it just broken up around the texture through there, broken up around the edges in through there, just so that it doesn't sit too crisp and clean. In terms of then styling it, what I think would work really quite nicely actually, as opposed to going to more of a sea salt spray or anything like that, I'd probably have a bit more of a smoothing cream, work that all the way through it whilst the hair is still damp, working that all the way through, and I'd probably lean towards leaving that to air dry. I don't think you really need to sort of blow dry this or put this in any different try and work it in any different direction, because I think the natural way that it wants to sit and the way that it will air dry with that little bit of product and that little bit of basing through there, I think that would work really quite nicely. If it's cut into the right shape, the way that your hair sits, I would say actually that would be really nice just to be let that to air dry. And what that would do is that then sit with a little bit more volume in through there, work its way out and get the natural texture in through there. And the natural texture with something like what you've got there would work really quite nicely, I think. If you live in a cooler area and you don't really want to just let the hair to air dry, another great thing you can do is still using that same sort of smoothing cream or something like that. You can then diffuse dry the hair. So you get your normal hair dryer, and then get a diffuser nozzle, pop that on top of it, and what the diffuser does, it just diffuses the air. So it's not just then focused on that one area, it disperses the air. So actually, if you put your hand in front of it, you can't really feel it, but it's able to dry the hair a little bit quicker than air drying it. It's virtually the same as air drying it, but can do it a lot quicker than letting it to air dry, and doesn't blast it everywhere, keeps that sort of texture in through there. So what you want to do is to if you wanted to get a little bit more volume and not have it sat down and crushed onto the root, what you can do is you can actually just lean your head forward, take all of the weight off the hair so that it's not crushing the root, get that all the way off it, and then have the diffuser just then pushing it onto the hair. You don't really want to be sort of scrunching it or working it around, just let it just sit there, just so that it's drying it, but without really pushing it in anywhere. Then you can just sit it back into its place, and that would work really quite nicely with it as well. Well, thanks for watching today, guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me a message. All my social media channels are going to be here and then all linked down below. Feel free to send me a message. I'd love to answer any of your questions that you have. Thanks for watching today, guys. Much love, Elliot.